Uh, Harvey Weinstein's conviction's been overturned by the New York Court of Appeals.
Wow.
Be-
I had not heard this.
Because, I mean, yeah, I wasn't expecting this. But we'll just take a look at the reasons why. We've got a statement from Weinstein's sort of team as well. In a 4-3 ruling, the New York Court of Appeals flipped Weinstein's conviction, stating that the judge in charge of the trial erroneously admitted testimony, so evidence, of uncharged alleged prior acts against persons other than the complainants of the underlying crime. So people not pertaining to it, basically, which obviously will sway everything. So a bit more of a bigger statement here. Defendant was convicted by a jury for various crimes against 3 named complainants, and on appeal claims that he was judged not on the conduct for which he was indicted, but on irrelevant, prejudicial, and untested allegations of prior bad acts. We conclude that the trial court erroneously admitted testimony of uncharged alleged prior acts against persons other than the complainants of the underlying crimes because the testimony served no material non-propensity purpose. The court compounded that error when it ruled that defendant who had no criminal history could be cross-examined about those allegations, as well as numerous allegations of misconduct that portrayed defendant in a highly prejudicial light. The synergistic effect of those errors was not harmless.
Wow.
That's pretty bad.
Wow.
That's pretty bad. Now, look, just to get my own opinion out there, by the way, guys, right? Harvey Weinstein, do I think that this sort of, mutated looking maggot mofo that he is, because he does look like that, would probably use some power to get his end away with certain people? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I think that those people he allegedly propositioned for positions in Hollywood knew that it was a fair trade-off, a bit of their poontang for some more money in Hollywood? Yeah, I think that they did, quite frankly. Do I think that he had to grape people? No, I don't. Because I think that Hollywood is full of narcissistic people that would have thrown themselves at him, regardless of the fact he looks like a maggot, because they want their sweet piece of the pie. Well, so that is my genuine thoughts on this. I don't actually think he graped anyone. I just don't. I think he used his position of power, to whatever position of power he did have, to get people to do pretty nasty things. But I think everyone knew it. I think that is essentially just the way it goes. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but if you engage in that and you're complicit in that as an action, aren't you? You give your pussy away. Well, that's on you.
Yeah,
I certainly think that a lot of these people now regret it, because yes, he does look like a maggot. And yeah, fair point. You should regret that. You should have some pride. But pretty bad that they admitted, defendants in who were not part of it. Pretty bad. Thoughts? And then we'll get to a little bit more of the statement and pushback from people. What do you reckon, Culture?
Well, I'm with you. I mean, I think people, while they weren't making an in-kind trade, I think they certainly knew what they were doing when they did it. Was he in a position of power? See, this is when you get these people freaking out over this power dynamic difference. And I'm like, well, certainly there's an imbalance of power. This person has the power to have you in their film or not have you in their film. But it's the same. The same is true with everything. You have a different balance of power in every exchange. That's you have to come to an agreement to exchange one item for another, whether it be a chicken for a new car tire or whatever it happens to be. Everything's about this swap. Now, is it appropriate? No, not according to our modern sensibilities, right? Or our moral, or even, things within our moral fiber. But at the same time, this was something that as an adult you elected to do willingly. So going after him, in this manner was a real problem. Is he a creep? Yes. Is he a scumbag? Yes. Does he look as you describe? Yes. But again, as far as that all goes, I mean, they were making an exchange, and I'm going to tell you, if this is something that is allowed to continue, especially when you can't face your accuser, you can't do any of these other things that supposedly were alleged based on the decision that you just read. We have a way of doing things in our court system to protect people. Look, the puppy's in there. But anyway, so look, I mean, will this result in another trial? Yes, that's ultimately what it would do. Look, it's Jasper. Jasper thinks. What do you think, Nick?
Bugging me. What do you reckon, Nick?
I'm gonna have a little bit different take. I think Harvey Weinstein is misunderstood. I think he's a pretty good guy when you get down to it. No, I'm joking. This dude is human trash.
Yeah.
Absolute human trash. Everybody knows he was friends with the guy that did not self-delete, that owned an island. No telling what happened out there. Anybody who's been in the business knows all about the casting couch. Even Cat Williams on his Club Shay Shay video talked about how he was in a room with them and he basically offered to blow him off, in front of all these people. This is a sick individual. He should rot under the jail and never get out. And if he does get out, hopefully he never gets any influence or power ever again. Because people like this need to be rooted out. And the thing is, Leslie Headland, his assistant, who's now running the Acolyte, don't tell me she didn't know what was going on. Like she was just oblivious. Like, I don't know what's happening here. Come on. So many people that are in the business that are around all this stuff. We're now hearing it all about the P. Diddy stuff. People go to the parties. They're around the business. They're around all these people. They see what's happening, but nobody calls it out until somebody does. And then they all jump on the bandwagon. Like, hey, how about taking some initiative and call it out as soon as you see it and expose these people? But they don't want to lose their status, and potential paychecks and all that sort of stuff. So they just keep their mouth shut. It's absolutely disgusting. That's why I would never make it in Hollywood, because I would be saying I'd be blowing people out of the water, exposing people left and right.
People.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's funny you say that.
Out of the water.
It's funny that he says that at the same time, because I guess the recent accusation was that this was being done in the comedy field as well, and that people were offered opportunities to have real careers, and some guys opted to do other things to other dudes, which is
Cat Williams talked about that, and I believe it. I 100% believe it.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at a little bit more at this case. So a bit of a diverging opinion on the panel on this whole situation. So we had the Weinstein spokesperson says we're cautiously excited. A spokesperson, Judah Engelmeyer, told Deadline this morning after the ruling was made. He still has a long road ahead of him because of the Los Angeles case, which he was given 16 years for. We're studying the ramifications of the appeal right now. So years in the making, Weinstein's appeal was argued before the judges by Arthur Adala back in October 2023, along with Adala, who was on Weinstein's unsuccessful 2020 defense team. The producer is also represented in his appeal by retired New York Supreme Court Judge Barry Kamins and Diane Fabi Sampson of Adala, Batuna, and Kamins PC. With the close vote on the appeals court, the dissenting opinion offers a view into how pitched things must have been behind closed doors for the judges, calling out Rivera and the other three judges, this is another judge, in the minority for whitewashing the facts to conform to a he said, she said narrative. Judge Madeline Singers said for the minority that the court was now part of a disturbing trend of overturning juries' guilty verdicts in cases involving sexual violence. Now, I will say that, if it's very clear cut that someone has added people to it that shouldn't be there, that there's errors being made, that's not a concerning development. That's not a disturbing trend of overturning juries. Dot your I's and cross your T's. Just because he's public enemy number one and he's a scumbag, you're right. It doesn't mean that you can't, you have to go by the book. You can't not do it all. You have to go by the book regardless. So, yeah, it annoys me, that kind of stuff. With echoes of Bill Cosby's release from a Pennsylvania jail in late 2021, Judge Singers went on to say that the majority's determination perpetuates outdated notions of sexual violence and allows predators to escape accountability. Well, look, again, I don't think he graped anyone. I definitely think it's dependent on your definition of grape, I guess. But did he abuse his power? Yeah. But accountability works both ways. Those being offered something and giving it freely for a position in Hollywood have to be accountable for their own actions as well. And, this isn't like a victim blaming situation. But in this situation, who's a victim? It's a trade. Yes, it's a degenerate trade, but who's a victim? It's quite literally, the score, I know the score. This is what you're doing to get this. Do you want it? Yes. Okay, cool. So this sort of notion of predators escaping accountability only works when there are victims involved, and it's not a trade-off. I think in the world of Hollywood, it's a trade-off. And this sort of full pelt focus just on one singular individual and the accountability that they must hold, although I agree, probably should have some to it. It's about accountability from all sides. I mean, if you're going to bring accountability to one, you must bring it to the others. Don't freely give away your pussy because you want to go and, star in a movie, you degenerate arsehole. Anything else to add, guys? Give me your thoughts, Nick.
I mean, I'm in complete agreement. I was thinking about this while you were sitting there, reading on some of this article. It's 100% a trade-off. Is there any real victims? I mean, you can try to claim to be a victim, but even Cat Williams said no, and you could have, and those people could have done the same thing. They should have been like, nah, I'm not doing this. But they wanted the fame, they wanted the money, and so they did what they did, So at the end of the day, if that's the choice you made, then you can't really blame anyone else. I mean, I still think this dude's a human piece of trash, but when it comes down to it, could they have been sitting there crying and upset afterwards and feeling bad about it? Yeah, but that's a decision you made. But yeah, I'm in agreement. I don't think he actually graped anyone either, but he had the power, even whether you like him or hate him, the audio tape that came out of Trump saying, just grab him, you can just grab him by the pussy. People with money and power have the ability to do stuff like that. If I did that, I'd get thrown in jail. It's just the world we live in. And you can either accept it and go down that road and play by those rules, or you can bounce out and go do your own thing. So yeah.
Go on then. Culture, give us your thoughts.
I mean, again, there's an argument to be made for personal responsibility when you're an adult. And sometimes your desperation leads you to make some very poor decisions. But ultimately, you're responsible for those decisions. And I wouldn't blame victims at all or anything like that, because that's just not how I'm wired. But when I look at things that people do, and then they come back later and they go after people for blackmailing them or whatever, and I can't imagine that didn't happen to Weinstein. I mean, you end up with those people in a desperate situation themselves. Everybody makes choices, good or bad. It's just making them for the wrong reason is really what we're talking about here. And the fact that the court's saying, cases of sexual violence and stuff like that, and that it's a disturbing trend. Well, it's a disturbing trend when you allow for other procedures to occur outside of the legal process that wouldn't normally happen. So again, I
Well,
mean, there's a
law for starters.
yeah, it's a rule of
Dr.
the rule of law and laws that are established in court procedures and all that were done for a reason. And the fact that they're setting these things aside and they're allowing for claims to be made decades after, something happened, only for a limited time. Only for this year are you allowed to do this, then the fix is in. I mean, it's kind of a junta at that point. So I get, like I said, I mean, did it happen? Sure. Does the guy look like, the bottom side of a shoe covered in, stepped over chewing gum? Sure. But at the same time, I hate to do this, but you made that decision, power dynamic or no.
Also counterpoint, he was Hollywood's scapegoat. This has gone
Oh
on
yeah,
with everyone in Hollywood.
He's not the only one.
Yeah, he was just the fool guy to take it. So, it's not to say that it's right. Of course not. But at the end of the day, I mean, he was the fool guy for the entire industry. He was the only one doing this stuff, really? If it's not okay for him, then the other people should be going down as well. So, yeah, there you go. Interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. He'll still be in prison anyway because he got another conviction in LA, and that was for 16 years. So, he's not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. He's serving. There's 2 sentences: 23 years and a 16-year sentence. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Anything else, Rod?
Man, the chat is very divisive on this topic today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is a divisive topic. It absolutely is. I just think, it's not to say anything's right or justified. It's all degenerate behavior, right? I'm not saying anything is justified. It's all degenerate nonsense.
Oh, he's a terrible.
Yeah, 100%.
But they are equally as terrible for partaking in the degenerate nonsense.
Yeah. There's other people that didn't partake in that, and kept that virgin asshole, a virgin asshole, as Cat Williams would put it.
You're going to get demonetized, Nick.
Well, Tom's not here, so I'm taking up the charge on that. But you could say the same thing about Bill Clinton, with his shenanigans. While he was the president of the most powerful country in the world, he was doing stuff, he should be locked up too. He's a degenerate.
Talk about a power difference, right? A power dynamic difference there.
Yeah.
But, just real quick, just 2 seconds. John Coco's in the chat is a professional photographer. He's worked in the industry, taking pictures of models and all kinds of stuff his entire career. And
proposition. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, no, but he's like 25 years of this. There's no shortage of women who use sex to get ahead. I'm sure a decent amount of those women were fine trading their bodies for jobs.
100%.
That is true. It does happen. It happens in everyday life in your
every
hometown.
industry.
People do
everywhere.
It. And not on the scale of Hollywood, but they'll trade
local corporate offices,
their body for other things. People just do it.
Businesses,
not to say it's right.
Yeah.
But let's get Tom. Let's get your opinion on this, buddy.
Hi. Yeah. Hey. Sorry, I overslept a little bit. I'm probably the least surprised person in the world right now about this.
Oh wow. Really?
And I'll tell you why, because I've been saying it, even though people push back on me. I've been saying for a while, because I read through the whole case, and I said flat out, I'm surprised he even got convicted. Because this was a bunch of he said, she said bullshit between boyfriend and girlfriend. And anybody who knows anything about these kind of cases will tell you that is one of the toughest cases to try and get any kind of assault charge out of when you have a couple involved, because it's hard to prove that one partner did not want something to happen, especially if they try to go back later on something. And when you have somebody like Harvey Weinstein, who I hate having to fucking sit here and go, well, maybe he's a little more innocent than we think in these situations, because as you guys have been saying for the last 20 minutes or whatever, it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. It doesn't matter if they got exactly what they were supposed to get. They're coming after him now because they didn't get what they expected, right? It had nothing to do with being forced to do anything they didn't want to do. And once you have this introduced into the situation, it takes it to a completely different level of what kind of a deal this is. And this all has to do with Me Too bullshit. And I'm not going to be surprised within the next 5 to 10 years, a bunch of these convictions get overturned because of the stuff that you guys have been just saying here. And it's sad because actual assault cases are going to go completely unobserved because there's other more bigger assault cases like Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein that they're going to pay more attention to, while the smaller stuff gets left alone, right? And a lot of these women, they put themselves into this position. I hate to fucking say it. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew what they were after. They were with him for a reason. They didn't get what they wanted out of the situation. They cried foul later. Now, is there women that probably were physically assaulted by him? Plausibly. But the problem you have here is it was an open secret in Hollywood. And when everybody goes, well, you know what happens when you go to Harvey Weinstein's room? You have a fucking problem then.
Language.
Sorry.
Language.
Well, you have a problem proving that there was any kind of, the person who went to the room didn't know what was going on. That's the problem. Right? Yeah. So right there you have the situation that's already built up with a he said, she said situation. And I think the only reason he got convicted in the first place is because he was being made an example of in the Me Too era. And just like Bill Cosby, he was losing his power. And when an old man starts to lose their power, they're easy to start to come after and pick at like a fish does, something that's dying in the water, basically.
Yeah. Yep. We've got what have we got? We've got Horseradish Power super chatting $2.50 over on Streamlabs. Guys, Streamlabs is the place to super chat and also jump in on the conversation. He says about that sentencing Harvey. Oh, how about sentencing Harvey to watching Rebel Moon 1 and 2? How about Velma seasons 1 and 2? All of Batwoman to get him to see the error of his ways. I mean, that could be pretty fair, to be honest, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie about that. That could be pretty fair. Horseradish Power also, another $2.50 super chat says, as far as I'm concerned, Eyes Wide Shut was a documentary. Harvey would have been involved in all sorts of things. It just tells me that there is ultimately one solution to the Hollywood problem. Exterminatus, decentralize the US film industry.
Well, you know what's sad is Harvey is probably one of the least.
What do you mean?
There's worse shit out there in Hollywood.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah.
Like Harvey is like the tip of the iceberg, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I agree. I completely agree. What's this one? Sorry. We've got the Kobe, I think, 42 for $5 says, guys like Harvey Weinstein, Vince McMahon, and Diddy make deals. In the words of Ted DiBiase, I don't know what that name is. Everyone has a price.
DiBiase.
Sorry, again, what is it?
DiBiase.
Ted DiBiase.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about Vince McMahon or the whole Diddy situation, but in the world of Hollywood, yeah, deals were made, and he was absolutely the fall guy for everything, basically. So it's a bit difficult for me to be too. Yeah, I don't know. I just accountability works both ways. You can't sit there and just be like, it's just his fault. No, it's also the women willing to give their bodies away as well. It is their fault as well. So, yeah.
And it's also the fault of women like Leslie Headland who allowed shit like that to go on if she knew.
Well, she, what do you call it, enabled it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Unequivocally.
There's people around him, too, that are just as guilty. That's my point, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. As you said, it's an open secret in Hollywood. So at that point, yeah, like everyone there is party to the issue. So, yeah, there you go. We will shuffle on now, though.